Hello and welcome back to today's English lesson. Today we're going to be looking at metaphors and we're going to try and use them in a poem. First we're going to think about what they are, then we're going to see if we can find some, and then finally we're going to look at a poem that uses metaphors and then try them out ourselves in our own metaphor poem. And yes, just in case you're wondering, it is snowing outside, but I don't think anything is going to come of it. It looks a little bit like there's somebody with a little bit of icing sugar that's just dusted the surface. So, metaphors, what are they? Well, what a metaphor? What is a metaphor? A metaphor is when something becomes or is compared to something else without using the word like or as. And we say become something else because you treat them like they have rather than saying they are like something else. So, two examples we have here are she was an angry lion. It wasn't that she was like an angry lion, she actually became an angry lion. The reason that I use this is that it's a much more vivid imagery. You can imagine a person turning into an angry lion and you can see that in their expression and that sort of thing, rather than just likening them to it. Or you are my sunshine. Obviously, you can't possibly be somebody's sunshine, but if you think about the connotations around what sunshine is, bringing you warmth and happiness, what you're comparing the person to is the fact that they are doing that. And some of these can be really powerful, and some of them are often used metaphors that people know, and others you can create yourself. Metaphors and similes are very, very similar, and there is just an easy difference between them. If you're using the word like or as, it is a simile. If you are just saying something is something else, then it's a metaphor. They do the same job. They increase the amount of detail in your imagery, but one is slightly stronger than the other, and one takes a little bit more thought in order to use, and that's metaphors. So let's see if we can identify some. So let's have a look at these sentences. Which ones of these are metaphors and which ones are similes, and what gives it away? So have a quick read through, and then we'll go through it afterwards. See which one you think is a simile and which one you think might be a metaphor. Pause now. Okay, let's have a look. So the sun is a ball of orange flame. Important word is here. So this is a metaphor. He jumped as high as a kangaroo. The word which is important here is as. So this, in this case, is a simile. There we go. The sleeping baby was a silky, soft dormouse. We're using the word was, much like we used is here. And the baby is becoming a dormouse. So this is a metaphor. Her teeth were like pearls. Simile. The shadow as black as a night, or as black as a night, as black as night, could be either or. This is a simile. And the cat had eyes of moonlight. The eyes are becoming the moonlight. So this is a metaphor. Okay, and it's quite obvious the words you're looking for, if they appear in the sentence, is a simile. If they don't, more than likely, it's a metaphor. So let's try making some metaphors ourselves. So you're going to match the green parts to the blue parts. I've done one for you. My ears were an ice cube, meaning that my ears are cold, which tends to happen when we walk outside in the snow, which is currently happening, or in the freezing weather, which again is currently happening. So you have to think through these next ones and try and link them together. So your choice of starting, the thing you're comparing, is his soapy hands are, his pulse was, the boy doing his test is, her skin is, and a droplet of water was. And our blue choices, our metaphors are a crinkly autumn leaf, a cool cucumber, a racing cheetah, a slow snail, and a slippery eel. Pause now and have a go. See if you can link them, and then we'll talk them through. Okay, so what we're trying to do, and what a metaphor does, is sometimes works on a few different levels. So we'll start with his soapy hands are. Are his soapy hands, and think about the word soapy here, are his soapy hands a crinkly autumn leaf? Probably not, because most crinkly autumn leaves aren't soapy. What do we mean by soapy? Is probably like that feeling that they slip and slide all over the place, or bubbly, one or the other. Is it a cool cucumber? Well, no, probably not. His hands, his soapy hands, probably aren't a racing cheetah afterwards. Could they be a slow snail? I guess they might have like that slimy side to it, but they're not really slow. If you rub them over the top of you, just go pretty fast. And there we come to a slippery eel. And this is the metaphor it is. It's a slippery eel. And this works in a couple of cases, but the main case is to do with being slippery and soapy. When you rub your hands together and you've got soap on them, they slide over the top of each other really easily, much like a slippery eel would slip out of your hands. The next one is his pulse was. Now, his pulse is his heartbeat, so taking your heartbeat. And we have to think about this in the case of, what do we mean by his pulse? What could his pulse be doing? His pulse could be fast, or it could be slow. It could be loud, or it could be quiet, I guess, if you were listening to it. But we tend to, when we think about people's pulses, being fast or slow. So do any of these relate to speed? Well, let's have a look. His pulse was a crinkly autumn leaf. Not really about speed, is it? So we can't use that one. His pulse was a cool cucumber. Again, probably doesn't work in the case of speed. So let's go back. Then we've got a racing cheetah. A racing cheetah is about speed, so maybe it could be that. And we think about a racing cheetah as it pounds along the ground, going as it moves across the hand. And not only are we thinking about the speed, but a little bit about the sound that we might hear. So this one could work. A slow snail. I guess it is about speed. We could use it. And a slippery eel we've already used, so we're not going to use it again. So our two choices are a racing cheetah or slow snail. Well, the thing is, slow snail works in one way, but it's not like a snail in any other way. You could have said anything that was slow, a tortoise, whereas something particular about snails are leaving that trail, and your pulse wouldn't leave a trail. So let's not go with that. The bonus of saying a racing cheetah is that sound as well as the speed. It goes quickly. So his pulse was a racing cheetah. So next, we've used that one now. So let's cross that one. Ooh. Let's cross that one out. What do we have left? So we have the boy doing his test is, her skin is, and a droplet water was. So the boy doing his test is a crinkly autumn leaf. Doesn't really work. The boy doing his test is a cool cucumber. Does work. He is calm and collected. The boy doing his test is a slow snail. Could also work because he's being slow, but again, doesn't leave a trail. So maybe one of those two. Let's see if we can rule out any others. Her skin is a crinkly autumn leaf. Could be. Think about that layer and it being all crinkly. We're talking about an old lady maybe, and her skin being all crinkled and even having those little lines in it. That could be a very good image. A cool cucumber doesn't really work, and a slow snail, her skin relating to the speed of a snail doesn't work. So her skin is a cool cucumber, a crinkly autumn leaf, sorry. That works. Then we've got the droplet of water was a cool cucumber. Doesn't really work. When we think about a cool cucumber, we think about somebody that is calm. So I think probably the boy doing his test is a cool cucumber. And then the droplet of water is a snow snail. And this actually works really well for a droplet of water. If you think about a droplet of water on a window, and then you just see that droplet travel down the window very slowly, what you see behind the droplet is that trail, much like you see on a snail's trail. So again, this one works in two ways. Not only is it slowly traveling down, but it's also leaving that trail behind it of the path it's traveled. So a droplet of water was a slow snail. So our final metaphors that we've got on this page are: his soapy hands are a slippery eel. His pulse was a racing cheetah. The boy doing his test is a cool cucumber, and her skin is a crinkled autumn leaf. And the droplet of water was a slow snail. Metaphors work really, really well when what you're trying to do is hit the likeness in more than one way. So think about his pulse and the racing cheetah. Not only is it going fast, but you can hear that sound of the racing cheetah pounding against the ground, plum, 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 as it travels along, much like you might be able to hear his pulse. The droplet of water was a slow snail, not only slowly traveling down the window pane, but leaving that trail. The more ways you can liken your metaphor to whatever you're comparing it to or making it the same as, the better it works. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a poem by Wes McGee. The poem was called What is the Sun? And this poem is all based around metaphors. And after we've done this, you're going to have a go at creating your own What is the Sun? Or if you wanted to, you could do it about something else. So what is the sun? The sun is an orange dinghy sailing across a calm sea. Now this works in two different ways. They're saying the calm sea is the sky, and they're saying the orange dinghy is the sun floating across the sky. Now this works in lots of ways because a dinghy floats, and that motion of the sun traveling across the sky is very much like that. A calm sea is blue, it's a reflection of the sky, and therefore works nicely across that. So this works in lots of different ways, but it also links colour, orange, to orange sun. Let's have a look at the next one. It is a gold coin dropped down a drain in heaven. So the metaphor here is the gold coin is the colour and the shape, it's round and gold, dropped down a drain in heaven. Think about that sun travelling down towards the horizon as it leaves. Heaven being up high and dropping down the drain in order to set. It is a yellow beach ball kicked high into the summer sky. Now we are using the summer sky in this case, but we're thinking about a yellow beach ball. So we've got the shape, the sphere, we've got the colour, yellow, and kicked high into the sky. That is during the summer, which is what we're talking about here. The sun reaches its highest point rather than at winter. So it works again in lots of different ways. And you can see I've worked hard on my imagery in these pictures. It is a red thumbprint on a sheet of pale blue paper. The red thumbprint being the round mark that is put on your paper. And our final one. It is the gold top from a milk bottle floating on a puddle. And I like this one because you've got gold top, so you've got colour, you've got the size, the shape of it, the circle, and you've got the idea of floating on a puddle. So not only is it just restless, not moving, it's moving and floating across the puddle, and that's that slow movement of the sun across the sky. So what your task is to write your own version of this poem. So you're going to draft some ideas or put together some ideas in a similar style to Wes McGee. You're going to think of pictures that you could use to associate with the sun. You're going to think about them with similar shapes and objects of similar colours. And if you can do both in one go, that's brilliant. But what you want to try and do is liken the sun and the sky to something. Now, obviously we've got some sky one, some sun ones here. You could think of another object like the moon or something along those lines if you wanted to, and create a metaphor poem based around that. But what I really want to see is a short poem based around the sun and something else if possible, using only metaphors. So the two words I do not want to see in your poem is like or as. If you've used those two, it is no longer a metaphor, it's a simile. Remember, whatever it is something else. So the sun is the golden top of a milk bottle. The sun is an orange dinghy. Make it something else. What you're using this for is to paint the picture in the reader's mind and make it more vivid. Make them see what you mean, why you've likened it to that object. Have a go, enjoy yourself. Maybe draw some pictures to go alongside it. What I'd really love, take an A4 piece of paper, fold it in half and half again so you get 4 pieces. In each of those 4 sections, I want you to write your metaphor, so your line, like Wes McGee's. Your sun is an orange dinghy floating across the calm sea, and then draw an image in that one box. So on an A4 piece of paper, you've got 4 boxes which have your 4 different lines. You could then, if you wanted to, use the back to do another 4, or think about something else that you could describe in a similar way. Take your time, enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.